Hey YouTube, That Homeschooler here. I am doing the review for Sleepy Hollow Season 2, Episode 4, I believe it is, The Root of Evil. And this review is late. I do apologize. And I hadn't really noticed it because I was doing a whole bunch of stuff until two people emailed me and asked me, where is the review? So if you guys are watching the review and you are enjoying it, I will continue to do it. I know you don't care anything about all of that. Let's just get into the review. So, you know, the episode last week ended with the old chief signing away his soul in blood to Henry without him knowing it, yet he still did it. And Abby and Crane are on their way to the psych ward where the old chief is now stationed. He has now been put in the psych ward. Abby and Crane are on their way to visit him. When they get there, the receptionist says to them, "I'm sorry, you can't see him." And Abby says, "Well, why not?" And she says, "Well, his lawyer has banned both of you from seeing and talking to him." And Abby says, "Well, you know, who was this lawyer? Why is that?" And it turns out they find out that it's Henry, who's the old lieutenant's or the old chief's lawyer. So they need to go and track him down. And to do that, she says to the receptionist, "Listen, any information that you have on helping us find him, we need." And she has a telephone number to a cab company that Henry called, and they were able to track down Henry and find out where he is. So they go off to do that. In the meantime, while all this is happening, Jennifer is getting out of jail. Remember, Jennifer got arrested last week for having firearms in her possession. And as she's getting her belongings and she's leaving there, the new chief is behind her. And the chief is saying things like, you know, "I had a dog once, and every time I opened the door of my house, my dog would run away, and one day he never came back." And Jennifer turns around and says, "You know what, I'm sorry about your dog." And the chief is like, "Well, I just don't want you to end up like him." And Jennifer just kind of looks at her because she can't say anything because the chief doesn't know what's going on. So we're just going to let her talk smack for now. So as Abby and Crane pull up to where the bank is located, on the side there's also this coffee shop. And if you've seen this episode, you know why I am laughing, and that is because there are two men holding hands in the coffee shop. And Ichabod Crane says, "Is that now acceptable?" And Abby goes off on this tangent talking about how, you know, things have changed in the Constitution and da-da-da-da-da in the states. And she ends up saying, you know what, same-sex marriage is now legal in a lot of states. And he just looks at her and he just sat there, and then he finally says, "I was talking about wearing hats indoors. I know about homosexuals. I studied under Baron von Steuben, and I just died." That whole line had me rolling because it was like, it sounded like he was talking about them, and he was talking about the fact that they had on hats, and it was so crazy. Now, if you guys don't know who Baron von Steuben is, okay, a lot of historians, you know about him. He was in the military. He had a lot of strategies and things like that. A lot of people consider him to be one of the best men right after Washington in the Revolutionary War. A lot of his strategies and mechanical techniques, all that stuff is kind of still in the military. It's been around for like 150 years, and the man was gay. So, I mean, if you don't know, now you know. Glory, glory. So anyway, moving on. Oh, but Crane had the nerve to say, after he said he studied under Baron von Steuben, that he watched the finale of Glee. And that just did it for me. I just had to click pause So after that whole ordeal, they see Henry walk out the bank, and Ichabod wants to run after him, and Abby tells him, no, wait. And Abby's trying to talk to him and tell him we need to really think about the strategy and what we're going to do to take him on. And all of a sudden, there's this gunshot. And they hear these people screaming. Abby reaches into her truck and she pages, the police people, and she grabs her vest and her gun and she goes to run into the bank. And as she runs in, a worker at the bank, one of the tellers, is now holding up the bank. The security guard has been shot. He's laying on the floor. And Abby says to, the worker, Miss somebody, whatever her name is, why are you doing this? What's going on? Remember me? You helped me open my first savings account. And the lady's just going crazy. And she's like, this is my money. This is all mine. 15 years I've been working here. I deserve it all. And these shadows are coming across the lady's face. And you can tell there's like some demon in her or something is going on. So Abby's trying to talk to her and calm her down and tell her, let's me and you talk about this. And let's let these other people go and let it just be me and you. And it's kind of like the lady wants to do it. She's trying to do it. But next thing you know, there's another gunshot. And Abby didn't make the shot. You turn around and it's the new head chief in charge. She has now shot her gun. The lady falls out on the floor because now, of course, she's dead. And Abby's looking at her like, really? And it was like, that could have been handled another way. But she storms out of there. She finds Crane. She's telling Crane what just happened. And they figure out that Henry had something to do with this because he just left. And now all this happens. Something's going on. He has done something. And so they're getting ready to leave there. And as they are leaving there, this guy starts slowly walking out the bank. And you see shadows on his face. And it's like, okay, what is this demon? What's going on? And Abby's like, we need to figure out how Henry has done this. And I'm thinking, okay, that demon must be loose again. Because in last season, there was a demon that was jumping from people to people. So Abby and Crane leave that scene. They go back to headquarters so they can look at the security footage to try to see what happened, what transpired. And as they are looking, they see that all of this happened right after the lady touched this coin. And Ichabod Crane's mind, he goes way back when, and it turns out that this is one of the coins that were created by the Roman emperor people to turn other people evil so they could create this world. And it just so happened that Benedict Arnold had touched this same coin, which is why he went evil and betrayed the country and all this and that. So what they have to do now is go and find that coin before someone else goes crazy. Now, we go from them to see Henry and Abraham. Abraham was the best friend to Ichabod Crane, and he wanted to marry Katrina, but that never happened. We go there to that house. Henry and Abraham are talking. Now, this is where I get annoyed, okay? Katrina is trying to listen to what's going on. Henry is letting Abraham know of this new plan, which Abraham did not know about, with this coin business going on. And Katrina's trying to eavesdrop. And like I said, this is where I get annoyed, because just last week you got caught eavesdropping. And again, here you doing the same thing. You keep letting these people see you. Like, stop doing that. That just really, 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 really annoyed me. Of course, Henry saw her peeking over, trying to eavesdrop, and he basically tells her, you gonna die. So, let's move on. So, Jenny makes it through the tunnels to go down to the headquarters where Abby and Ichabod Crane. I said Crane. Like, I want to say Ichabod Kramer, like on Seinfeld. But anyway, she goes and she finds them, and they are conversing about different things that have happened between the few days that they have been apart. And it turns out Jennifer knows this guy, I think his name is Harley, who's down by the docks, that would be able to help them figure out the coin and find it, all that good stuff. And Jennifer takes it upon herself to take Abby's laptop, log into her laptop to access police files, and look up the new chief's files. I really need to find out what her name is, because I don't care. I don't like her because she's so mean. She's so evil. Anyway, Abby says, you know, what are you doing? And Jennifer goes into talking about, you know, this lady knew our mom. This is the lady that put our mom in the psych ward and yada, 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 yada. And Abby was like, you just went into my computer to access her files? And Jennifer is just getting all hysterical because she's feeling like that this information was not relate to her, because Abby knew that the chief knew her mom and knew the situation. It was Jennifer that did not know, and Jennifer kind of feels betrayed that she wasn't told, and she's very hurt, and she's like, this lady made our mom leave, and when our mom got put in the psych ward because of this lady and trying to save us and keep us safe, our mom committed suicide. Our mom killed herself. And Abby was like, you know what? The chief was just doing her job. And that's when Jennifer kind of gets upset and she leaves. And Abby and Crane end up leaving to go and find Henry so they can find this coin so they can keep all this bad stuff from happening. So they do find Henry, the guy on the docks that Jennifer had told them about, and it turns out after conversating for a little bit that this coin is definitely a Roman coin, a coin that was cursed by the Roman emperors to build an empire. It also turns out that these are the same coins that were given to Judas to portray Jesus and all that good stuff. And I'm like, God dang, y'all going back with some stuff. And as they're standing there, this bomb goes off. This building blows up. And what had happened was the guy that walked out of the bank with the shadows on his face that looked like the demon had jumped into him had gone home with the coin in his pocket, and he was sitting down building a bomb. And what was going through his mind at the time is that my dad doesn't love me. My dad doesn't really care about me. And he had taken the bomb, put it in a box, and taken it to his dad's flower shop. And he left a note. That's it, Dad. The dad opened the note. And when he opened the box, the building blew up. So now Abby and Crane got to go and figure this out. But me and you, we already know what's going on. So they go back to headquarters. They look up the guy who just got blown up's file. And from that file, they link into his children's files. And they see that he had one son that went off to college and another son that stayed home to help his dad with the flower shop, the guy that blew his father up. And they go back to the bank surveillance and they see that he was at the bank and he indeed got that coin. But that guy was booked like right after the bank robbery. I guess he was, I don't know what he was charged with. That kind of left me confused because we saw him walking out and he ended up arrested because he had things in his pockets there at the police station. And when they looked up his file, they saw that he had just $1 in his pocket. So Abby runs down. She wants to get down there to get this coin. And before she can get there, the chief calls her in. And she goes in and the chief says to her, "Why did you access my personnel file?" And Abby says, "You know, I was looking because I heard that you were the one that put my mom in the psych ward." And the chief was like, "You know what? I was just doing my job." And Abby says, you know, I thought that too, until I realized that for kidnapping, because Abby's mom did try to run away from the psych, well, did try to, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but the mom tried to not kidnap them, but get them back. And Abby says to the chief, you know, before kidnapping, she would have gone to prison, not the psych ward. And the chief says, you know what, I did think about that, but I thought putting her in the psych ward would have her get help. I didn't want her in prison. And Abby says, yeah, okay. And she leaves there, and she's trying to go down to the place where all the stuff is that they keep down there. And here comes Henry just walking by in a suit, smiling so evilly. And Crane is there. And Crane says to Abby, you know what, I can handle this. He's talking to Henry. And they're having their little conversation about evilness. And Henry says, we know about the coin and how you're trying to make this coin turn people to evil. And Henry says, this coin doesn't turn people into anything. This just brings out the evil that's already there. And it was just like, whoa, man, that was deep, you know? And Abby finally makes it down there. And when she gets there, I want to say gatekeeper, but it's the guy that goes, he sits behind the desk and you tell him what you want, and he brought the coin, and she's like, oh, it's just a regular quarter. And he says, yes, and it's a very, very famous quarter because his lawyer, who happens to be Henry, again, he's also the lawyer for this guy, came down here and looked for it himself. And what had happened was Henry switched out the coins already. And she's like, oh, man. So from there, you see Jennifer doing her community service, scrubbing graffiti off the wall, and here rolls this coin, and it's the quarter. Henry is standing far back. He has rolled the quarter over there to her, and she picks it up, and here come the shadows over her face, and in her mind, she's hearing, she doesn't really care about me. It's time to even the score. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, Lord, no, not again. We already got one demon out you once. How are we going to do it again? So remember Henry from earlier, the guy that met at the docks, called Abby and Crane to meet him at this bar. Now, let me interject something. If you have not been watching this season and really been paying attention, last season and this starting season, Crane has no identification. He has no ID, and that's becoming a really big problem in this episode. And when they get to the bar, Harley says, I ordered beer for us. And Crane goes to pick his bottle of beer up, and here comes the waitress saying, you know what, I just need to see some ID, which was really strange. Like, does he look underage or not? But he says, I don't have any ID. And she takes the beer away. But Harley ends up saying to them, you know what, Jenny came by my place and she wanted to see some guns. Now, I wasn't going to give her any, but as I went to go and show her more, she picked one up and she took off with one of my very high-powered rifles. What are we going to do about it? And Abby looks at Crane and says, somehow Henry got her that coin. So they're getting up to go because Abby remembers that they kind of had a little spat earlier, and she says to Crane, Jennifer's going to try and kill me, so we have to find her. She's going to be looking for me. And Harley's like, hold on, wait, hold up, because he's still trying to figure out what's going on. And he says, you know, if this coin is what really made Jennifer go bad, what makes you think when you get to the coin, it's not going to do the same to you? I said, excuse me, brother preacher man. That's exactly what I want to know. That's exactly what I want to know. I was thinking that this whole episode, when we found out about this coin, talk about we need to go get this coin, we need to go get this coin. I'm like, what makes you think you're not going to turn evil, honey? What makes you think that? Abby didn't have anything to say because there was nothing she could say. But Crane and Harley end up at this church. And they are standing there looking at the windows because it turns out that the only thing that can keep this coin from working is stained glass from a holy place. So they're standing up there, and Harley's like, okay, I'm going to get this glass. And he takes out this stick, and he's about to break it. And, you know, Crane says, you don't have, what was the word? I don't remember, but he had an issue with it because, you know, it's a holy place, and that's how Crane is. And up walks the parish, the father, and he says, how can I help you, gentlemen? And Crane says, I want to confess. So he runs off with the father to go get into the confessional so he can confess. And while he's in there trying to make up some story, trying to give the other guy time, you hear the glass break. And he says, well, you know what? I feel much better now. I'm done with confession. And they leave. Now they are going to meet up with Abby. Now Abby has returned to the police station, and she is asking one of the ladies behind the desk, whom I assume that she's pretty good friends with because they were very friendly with each other. Abby says to her, can you please track my sister's GPS thing because she left her phone over at my place, da 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 da. And the lady says, yeah, sure. And maybe when you get done, you can go see the new chief because she wanted to see you, and she will be back shortly or something like that. And Abby says, well, where did she go? And the lady says, oh, she went to the forest so she could do hunting. And she's talking. And Abby's like, yeah, well, could you just, you know, look up where my sister is? So she looks it up, and it turns out that Jennifer is on her way to the same area. So it's not really that Jennifer wants to kill Abby. She wants to kill the chief. And so the lady says, oh, look, she's on her way to the forest too. Maybe she's gonna do hunting. And I was like, this dummy right here, she was just way too happy for me. Way too happy. So in between all this, Abby, Crane, and Harley meet up. They are now at the forest. They are looking for Jenny because now she has this gun and she's trying to kill people. They're looking for her. They finally spot her, and they kind of split up so they can take her down. In the midst of all this, the chief is there in the forest, but she doesn't hear or see them, which is pretty good. When they finally get to Jenny, Abby is trying to talk her down. And Abby tells her, let me take the shot at the lady because, you know, I've been angry too, and yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. And Jennifer finally gets to a point where Crane can rush her, knock her down, get the gun, and the coin flies out of Jennifer's pocket onto the ground. Abby sees the coin. She's looking at it. She's being pulled towards the coin. In between all that, the Harley is trying to put up the gun. Crane sees Abby being pulled toward the coin. He kicks the coin, and Harley catches the coin in between the glass. They finally, you know, get themselves back up, and Abby's trying to console Jennifer, and Jennifer's crying, and Crane stands up and says, you know what, I think I owe you an apology. And he looks up, and Harley has just disappeared. He's gone. The chief is leaving because I guess she's done all the hunting that she's going to do. She didn't see them. I'm like, well, that's crazy. Where did the other guy go? So Crane goes back to the psych ward where the old chief is. And the lady says to him, you know, I'm sorry, but like I told you earlier, you can't see him. You're still banned. And he said, you know what? I wouldn't dare think of asking to see him. I actually came to see someone else. And this guy that they had seen earlier that was just standing there, he kept saying, hi, hi, hi. That's who Crane said he was coming there to see. So Crane is sitting at the table with the hi guy, putting together a puzzle, and walks by is the, you know, the old chief. And he says, Crane. And he comes into the room, and Crane's kind of going like this, because the lady is kind of in an adjoining room where she can see what's going on, and they are not supposed to talk to each other. So he's telling him kind of keep it on the down low. And Crane is just informing him that, you know, your lawyer is my son. He banned me and Abby from talking to you. He is also, you know, the third horseman or the second horseman, whoever horseman. And the old chief is just like, he's trying to process it, but he's like, he's trying to get me out. My family needs me. And Crane tells him, but the safest place you can be is in here if he's trying to get you out, because something is about to go down. So Crane leaves there, meets up with Abby. They are back at the bar. In walks Harley. He gets their attention, and Abby pushes him down and was like, where did you go to? And all this and that. And Crane says, well, did you sell the coin? And he said, no, I didn't sell the coin because I thought about it. If one coin could bring in a ton of money, and this is just one of 30 coins, then think about how much money I can get if I had the other 29. But I figured I would give you guys something for your trouble. And he gets up and he throws Crane this envelope. And in this envelope are some like fake IDs and all that type of stuff, which was just really sweet. And then they figure out, hey, we can trust this person, because even though he doesn't know what's going on, he knows what's going on, and we can trust him. And that was pretty much the episode. I'm sorry if I was going pretty fast, but my last review was pretty long. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. And like I said, if you guys want me to continue doing, you know, reviews and stuff like that, like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to me, share my videos, and I will continue to do that. I'm still contemplating whether I am going to continue doing the Hell's Kitchen review. So if you like those reviews, let me know. I may continue to do the reviews for the rest of the season, but there are just so many people on the show. I may wait until we get down to 10 chefs, because I think now we're down to 13. It just depends. So I will see you all next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you. Smooches.